I got asked an interesting question. I got asked, it was a fan question, and they just said, hey, Chael, who is the coach that you owe a thank you that you never gave? And I got to tell you, I don't know if I would have one because I went on a thank you tour. I went on a thank you tour 2 different times in my life. One was right after college, around 24 years old. I got into coaching. It was at a club level. I'm working with kids, but I realized all that went into it. And I realized how emotionally attached you would get to those matches and you would get to those kids. And whatever they would do, it would affect you. If they did a great job, how high on life you could be, but at the same time, if they were skipping practice, or they were getting in trouble at school, or their grades weren't as such so that they were qualified to even get to the mat on Saturday in the first place, then it would affect you. So I went around and I started thanking coaches. Hey, by the way, and I sat down with a lot of them. Coach Pittman, Coach McPherson, face-to-face. Coach Thompson, just told them. Coach Sanville I called, and Coach Samron I showed. I showed my appreciation by giving back, but it was just one of these things where before you know it, I'm sending Coach Dixon a text message, and I'm calling Chuck up about 10 years too late, and I'm visiting Coach Finley. It was one of these things in my life where I really went through the thank yous. A very close relationship. Clayton Hires, of course, Fabiano Schöner, but wrote a beautiful letter one time to the late, great Robert Follis. My only point being, I was really blessed in my life. I got really lucky with really great coaches, and I didn't know it. All of the coaches that ever coached me, I was never grateful in the least. I thought that was their job. My dad took me to wrestling practice. Here's the guy that coaches at this gym. It's your job to coach me. I can misbehave, and I can be ungrateful, and I can be all these other things, and you have to put up with it because you're the adult and I'm the kid. I mean, I lived through a phase like that. Did you guys? Maybe a little bratty phase or something? That really was how I looked at it. The guy who was the coach at the high school that I just happened to live in, and the bus dropped me off there, went into the Hall of Fame. I had no idea it's such a great coach. My club coach, Roy Pittman, has put an Olympian or an Olympic alternate on every single team since 1980 and went into the Hall of Fame. I didn't know. It's one of these things. That was just where my dad took me. So when I got a little bit older, I went back and I thanked them all. But there is if there was a guy I've never told thank you, that I owe a thank you, that I'm appreciative for, and whatever it was I was able to participate in or achieve, Ricochet is his name. And Ricochet is one of the great wrestlers from Oregon history, state of Oregon, but he went to the University of Oregon. And his name, Ricochet. Are you hearing how I'm saying that? Ricochet? A ricochet? Ricochet was a great wrestler, was wounded. There was a gunman at, I think it was MacArthur Court. It might have been Autzen Stadium. Ricochet was there getting a workout, and there was a gunman. And he had a machine gun, and Rick actually had to take this guy down, or Rick and some other guys had to take this guy down before the world was even prepared for this. But the bottom line is the guy pulled off some rounds. One of the rounds ricocheted, hit Ricochet, and it changed his career. Many people would say that it ruined it. I don't know about that. I watched him win a Veterans National tournament 20 years after that happened. So I'm not quite willing to say that it ruined his career, but it definitely changed it. As far as his eligibility to be able to get out there within the constraints of the Division I rules, it changed his career. I bring up his name in relation to the Ricochet bullet. There's a television show called Ripley's Believe It or Not. And at the end of Ripley's Believe It or Not, they told this story just in print. Ricochet, a wrestler at the University of Oregon, was hit and wounded by a ricochet bullet. Believe it or not, right? It was one of these things where his name Ricochet ended up being this cool thing, even in this tragic moment. But when I was coming to the University of Oregon, he was in there every day. Every single day. And he was still getting workouts in. And I don't know that he was planning to enter the veterans and make a comeback and attempt to reach what he did achieve, which was the national championship. I don't know if he was doing that or if he was just a guy in town and he was trying to give back and he was trying to help us. He was in a mentored role purely because it was his alma mater and he was older. That's how that works. Us young guys come in, the older guys, we do what he says. That's the way it goes. But he more served as a workout partner. He was getting his own training in. But everybody that was around in that class, this extends back to Eric Webb because he was Eric Webb's coach. But from Kevin Keeney, Troy Hughes, Doug Lee, and myself, all of us were touched on a daily basis by Rick. And I don't know that we ever thanked him. I don't know. We appreciated him, but he was in there training. We were in there training. And even when his career ended, he was at practice every single day. And he was one of these guys that we all wished would speak up a little bit more. Like, hey, Rick, do you not understand that we know your past and we know what you did at the Junior Nationals and we know you're the Veterans National Champion? Like, I don't know. Some days he would just come in and just watch and we'd all, hey, little feedback here. But he's one of these guys. He's one of these really humble guys. He had a really quiet leadership. And if there's anybody from my past who I didn't thank to answer your question, and then what is a great coach? That's an interesting one too. And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that within MMA as Henry Cejudo gets into this. And people would have very different opinions on that. I've had really great coaches, but I will tell you the one commonality that they all had, all of the greats had, was an ability to motivate. That would be long before I get into the strategies of the sport, the game planning, how well they understood it, what their history with. They could motivate you. And it wasn't about did you like them. It wasn't about did you love them. It was about did you respect them. If they call a workout at 7 a.m., not that you showed, of course you showed up. Did you think about not? Did you consider skipping this workout? Did you consider making a phone call, making up an excuse and not showing up to it? That's really the litmus test. If you did not, then you respect that coach. It's as simple as that. If a coach has your respect and he has the ability to motivate you, I mean, I could go back again to Clayton Hires. And it wasn't that he had some magic strategy that nobody else knew. He could get you to show up every day, twice a day, and no matter how tired and sore you were, do it tomorrow and again the next day. That was his recipe. He would make you feel good. He would make you believe. He would get you to buy into a dream. He'd show you have a little bit of fun. He'd work you really hard, but you'd leave with a smile. That was his recipe. So when you ask me what makes a really great coach, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I share with you Roy Pittman, who's put an Olympian or an Olympic alternate on every single team since 1980. He's never wrestled a match. Never put a singlet on and pulled it up. He read a book on wrestling. He understood kids. He understood structure. He understood the worst thing that a young person, particularly a male, can have in their life is free time. So he would bring you in every day. He would teach you a skill and he would send you home tired. That was his recipe, that he took guys from a little park that had no funding to the Olympic Games. And he did it every single 4 years. But I think a lot of those great coaches, and I see many coaches get lost in what they know. There's a famous line by Ronald Reagan, and it's true in everything in life. But in coaching in this instance, it's a great example, which is nobody cares how much you know. They want to know how much you care. And the great coaches that can give of himself and want nothing back and build that relationship with the athlete. It's never going to be about techniques. It's never going to be about strategy and getting inside and staying outside. It's never going to be about that. The greats will take you somewhere because they will make you come in every day, learn a skill, and no matter how you feel, show up and try it again tomorrow.